Diddy trial. Federal prosecutors are now responding to Diddy trying to get out, right, while he's waiting to get sentenced. And so basically what prosecutors are saying is that they believe that his response, that his crimes reflect aggravating, not mitigating factors, and they want to justify his continued incarceration. Diddy had said that he's just a John. He's not the one that participated in having sex with these male escorts. He only watched. Right. And his ex-girlfriends are the ones that had. Well, they said that ignores the fact that he transported individuals for the purpose of prostitution on hundreds of occasions over the course of decades. And they also said he did ply Cassie and Jane Doe with drugs to make sure they would participate in marathon freak-off sessions while victimizing them through his violent outbursts. So they said he should not be released on a $50 million bond because he does pose.
Diddy trial prosecutors put in an opposition to Diddy's bail request, and the prosecutors say they're actually looking for a more lengthy sentencing than what they originally thought. In this opposition, the prosecution is laying out the fact that the judge already denied Diddy's bail for being a violent person, and they hone in even more into Diddy's alleged violence against people. Prosecutors are saying that Diddy has actually been lying when he said that he didn't commit violence between his breakup with Cassie Ventura in 2018 up until 2024 with his incident with Jane. Let's go ahead and jump right into this motion. The government says despite the court's clear ruling that the defendant must be detained pending sentencing following his conviction on 2 felony counts, the defendant moves again for bail. The defendant's detention pending sentencing is mandatory. There is no exceptional circumstances justifying his release. Even if there were, the defendant cannot demonstrate by clear and convincing evidence that he is not a danger to the community. This court properly denied the defendant's request for bail on July 2nd of 2025, and the defendant has failed to present any reason for the court to reconsider its ruling. The court should deny the defendant's motion on this again on that basis alone, but then they get into listing more reasons. The defendant has failed to meet the strict standard for reconsideration. As an initial matter, the defendant's motion is untimely under Rule 49 because the motion was filed 27 days after the court's July 2nd, 2025 bail determination. The defendant fails to meet Rule 49, which is a 14-day deadline.
All smoke and mirrors.
He's going to go to prison. And if you do, it'll be for something very, very small. It wouldn't be nothing what the people think. I don't think he's going to go nowhere long. But at the same time, you got to look at it. The best witness they had is KPD. KPD been an informant for a very, very long time. And KPD is getting ready to go to trial for the murder of Tupac. KPD said it, everybody else know it, and KPD said the money came from Puffy to kill Tupac and myself. So if they really wanted Puffy that bad, KPD would have could have deal with them, got on that stand, and broke it down. That would have been the RICO right there. That would have been murder for hire.
Lawyers just played another card, and it's loud. They filed fresh papers asking the judge to either toss the conviction or hand them a brand new trial. And they paired that ask with a jaw-dropping bail proposal, $50 million. That's not a typo, $50 million. Why now? Because prosecutors have signaled they'll push for as much as a decade behind bars. And inside Brooklyn's Metropolitan Detention Center, the mogul who used to control rooms is feeling the walls close in. When your life shrinks to a single cell and a ticking calendar, you start firing every legal flair you've got. This one says, let me out, or at least give me another shot. Here's the posture in simple terms. A jury cleared Sean Diddy Combs on the explosive conspiracy count, but they did convict him of transporting sex workers across state lines. His lawyers say that verdict doesn't fit the statute. They argue the Mann Act was built to crush people who profit from prostitution, not someone who allegedly flew girlfriends and male escorts, then watched. Their pitch frames him as a voyeur, not a trafficker, a user of services, not a pimp or a purchaser. In their telling, intent and profit are the spine of the law, and neither applies here. So they're pushing for an acquittal or a new trial. And if the court won't go that far, they want the next best thing, a bond so big it makes headlines. The government's reply is blunt. The label doesn't save you when the pattern is the point. Prosecutors say Combs arranged encounters for years, moved people hundreds of times, greased the sessions with drugs, and kept control with rage and intimidation. Whether he personally had sex is irrelevant, they say. What matters is the engine he allegedly ran. If you plan it, transport it, set the rules, and reap the power the rooms give you, the act reaches you. That's their line, and they've repeated it in filing after filing. You don't have to be the pimp or the client if you're the orchestrator of the whole thing. Meanwhile, the bail drumbeat keeps going. This is try number 5. Each time the defense argues the convictions are non-violent, that house arrest in a Miami mansion plus electronic monitoring can control the risk. Each time, the judge has pointed to prior admissions of violence against former partners, including Cassie Ventura, and concluded there's too much danger to any person. Money doesn't erase risk, the court has said. A gate code and a private chef won't suddenly make anyone safe. So far, the bench hasn't budged, and prosecutors are pushing for the lock to stay on the door until sentencing. On paper, it reads like routine legal chess. Inside MDC, it reads like urgency. The day-to-day isn't red carpets and call times. It's 23 hours in a cell, 3 showers a week, and a tray that looks like budget camp food. Recreation is a sliver. Commissary is humbling. 6 Hershey bars can run $75. Peanut butter is a treat. A sweatshirt costs more than some families spend on groceries. You want sneakers? New Balance at jail prices. For a man whose whole brand was access, front row, first class, everything VIP, that's not just a downgrade, it's identity shock. The world that used to bend now refuses to blink. People inside say the adjustment is tearing at him. Reports have him anxious and sleepless, stunned by how fast bottle service turned into lineup. Over the holidays, word leaked that he broke down in his cell. Tears, panic, a plea to be taken to the hospital. Guards refused, as they often do, unless there's a clear emergency. Later, the story goes, he studied himself with meditation and breathwork. Maybe every detail isn't perfect. Jail rumors rarely are. But the broader picture tracks. MDC is designed to grind you down, and even people with iron heads feel the weight after a few months. The routine is the punishment. The sameness is the sentence before the sentence. So his legal pitch narrows to 2 ideas. The Mann Act is being misapplied, and his crimes, as found by the jury, are non-violent. His attorney leans on history. The statute, he says, was designed for profiteers, brothel bosses, transporters for hire, vice rings that treated people like inventory. Combs, by contrast, is painted as a consumer, however distasteful the setting. On that frame, the defense asks for something rare. Call this an exceptional case and let him out on an exceptional bond, while they push for acquittal or a redo. They're arguing law, but they're also arguing optics. He isn't who this statute was meant to catch, dressed up in case citations. Prosecutors answer with law and logistics. First, the court already denied bail on July 2nd, and nothing material changed. Second, the latest motion is late under Rule 49's 14-day limit, so the judge can say no on timing alone. Third, labels aside, danger remains the issue, and the record, drugs, coercion, scale, shows danger. That leaves calendar on leverage. Sentencing is set for October 3rd. Until then, the defense will stack good facts, programs, clean infractions, therapy notes, anything that paints a softer snapshot. The government will keep curating the hard gallery, decades, patterns, bruises that don't show up in spreadsheets, because courts don't turn danger into math. 2 pictures will be in front of the bench on sentencing day: rehabilitation and remorse versus power and harm. Between those poles sits a $50 million promise that cannot fix the past, only buy time. The court has never priced danger that way.
Prosecutors moved fast and cold. In their newest opposition, they told the judge nothing has changed and everything that matters still points one way: detention until sentencing. They said the law is clear. After felony convictions like these, release is extraordinary, not routine, and there is no exceptional circumstance here to justify opening the door. They also reminded the court that the defense is late. Under Rule 49, reconsideration has a 14-day window, and this filing missed it. On process alone, they argued, the motion can be denied without another hearing. But they did not rely on procedure. They went straight at substance, and they went hard. They did not stop at timing. The filing tightens the picture of danger. Prosecutors point to a long arc, years of arranging travel for sex, repeated drug use to grease so-called freak-off sessions, violence that terrified partners, and a pattern of control that did not end at the bedroom door. They call the voyeur label a paint job. If you assemble the cast, book the rooms, fly the people, dictate the rules, and feed the machine, you are not a bystander. Whether you profit in cash or in power, the engine runs because you keep your foot on the pedal. That, they say, is why the statute fits and why release does not. They also pressed credibility. After the verdict, the defense suggested there had been no violence since the 2018 breakup with Cassie. The government's answer is blunt, untrue. Incidents continued into 2024. When a court is weighing release, truthfulness matters, and a record of minimization undercuts every promise a bond package tries to make. You can stack monitors and private security like sandbags, the argument goes, but you cannot hold back a river if the storm is still overhead. Courts prefer patterns over pledges. The pattern the government draws is not subtle. When power is threatened, harm follows. On sentencing exposure, the tone hardened. Early chatter put the range around 4 to 5 years. Now prosecutors say aggravating conduct pushes the expectation substantially higher. The math is technical, guideline factors, enhancements, departures, but the message lands. The government believes the conduct is worse than the raw counts suggest. In that frame, pre-sentence detention is not punitive, it is protective. Protecting witnesses, protecting the public, protecting the process from pressure campaigns that money can fund. The subtext is simple. The stakes are rising, and so is the risk. Meanwhile, the defense repeats a refrain. These are non-violent convictions under the Mann Act. House arrest in Miami with strict conditions will manage any risk. The court has answered before and may answer again. Danger is not limited to guns and fists. Coercion is danger. Stalking is danger. A history of eruptive control is danger. Judges have wide authority to treat those patterns as disqualifying, and this judge already has. 4 denials in, the 5th looks like a rerun, even with a headline bond offer that dwarfs most corporate budgets. Money can post a bond, money cannot purchase trust. Step outside the docket and the human picture is even harsher. MDC Brooklyn is built to erase entitlement. 23 hours in a 6x9, 3 showers a week, 1 hour of recreation if the unit is not locked down. The meals are repetitive, the lighting is relentless, and quiet is a rumor. Commissary is a lesson in scarcity priced like luxury. 6 Hershey bars for $75, peanut butter over 3, a sweatshirt for $16, New Balance sneakers for $55. You can also buy an MP3 player for just under $90, though spending is capped around $160. It is not meant to feel comfortable, it is meant to feel small. People inside say the fall hit hard. Over the holidays, he allegedly melted down. Tears, panic, a plea for a hospital run. Guards declined. Later, he calmed himself with breathing and meditation. None of that is unusual in that building. People break in quiet ways there. Insomnia first, then isolation, then the sudden realization that time is now the warden. For someone whose life was velocity, planes, parties, phones that never stopped, the stillness is its own punishment. Even the commissary list reads like a taunt. Candy bars that cost what steak once did, a sweatshirt where there used to be couture. Defense lawyers know judges read people as much as papers, so they have him in programs, counseling, classes, anything that paints structure and accountability. That portfolio serves 2 aims, a softer shadow for bail and a mitigation packet for October. But prosecutors have their own binder, sworn statements, timeline charts, travel records, digital breadcrumbs, and they keep adding pages. One side builds a story of insight and change, the other builds a story of repetition and risk. In federal court, stories win cases, but only when the facts agree. There is also the optics battle. The $50 million bond is meant to scream control. Put the mansion on guard, strap on monitoring, flood the house with supervision, and let the process play out. The government replies that money is a poor proxy for safety, and history is a better one. If money solved danger, rich defendants would never be detained. Yet here we are, in the rare air where wealth cannot buy the presumption of harmlessness. Judges know that releasing a celebrity can chill witnesses and complicate enforcement. They also know that denying release can be the only way to keep a case honest. So the calendar becomes the quiet antagonist. October 3rd is coming and both sides are staging the runway. The defense will keep sharpening the legal edge, Mann Act intent, profit, statutory history, overbreath, and polishing the personal edge. program completions, clean discipline logs, supportive letters. The government will keep the focus wide, not on a single trip or a single night, but on years, patterns, and power. That framing is why their answer on bail stays short. Nothing new, no exception, and no reason to roll the dice now.
Outside the courtroom, a second fight is running in parallel. The fight over power, timing, and who benefits if Sean Combs stays caged. That context matters, because right before the criminal storm, there was a corporate war. In 2013, Combs and Diageo deepened their ties by co-acquiring De Leon Tequila, stacking it atop the Ciroc partnership that helped mint his mogul era. For a decade, the alliance printed prestige, distribution, and glossy campaigns, until it broke. In May 2023, Combs sued Diageo, alleging racial discrimination and accusing the company of starving De Leon, pigeonholing his spirits as urban, and treating him like a marketing prop rather than a true partner. 7 months later, in January 2024, they settled out of court. The terms were sealed, the relationship ended. 2 months after that, in March 2024, federal agents executed coordinated raids on his Miami and Los Angeles homes and left with a mountain of media, about 90 terabytes of digital data. 90 terabytes is not a hard drive. It is a warehouse. The timing launched 100 theories. Was the Diageo break mere coincidence or a barometer? Blue chip money stepping away before a storm? No one on the record will confirm that reading, but in an industry built on whispers, dots that line up this neatly draw arrows on their own. Back in Brooklyn, the ground keeps moving. NDC, the Metropolitan Detention Center, has its own scandal reel. Rolling lockdowns, contraband pipelines, staff misconduct, heat and power failures, and deaths that spark investigations. Federal agents recently swept the jail itself in an interagency operation to maintain a safe environment. Defense lawyers who trek there weekly called the timing curious. Judges have questioned conditions from the bench. Members of Congress have sent letters. Among detainees, the dark joke is that MDC is the only place where winter and summer happen on the same day, and both are broken. This is where Combs is living out the gap between verdict and sentence. He entered on suicide watch, standard protocol for high-profile defendants, shifted to a special housing unit, and now sits in general population. The routine is monotony sharpened into policy. 23 hours in a cell, 1 hour out. 3 showers a week, a commissary cap that turns snacks into strategy, and a noise floor that never drops. Breakfast tastes like paperwork, lunch tastes like policy, dinner tastes like fluorescent light. For someone whose brand was motion, red-eye flights, private rooms, velvet ropes, the stillness is its own punishment. To break that loop, the defense has tried every door. First, a $1 million bond, then layered electronic monitoring, then house arrest in the Miami mansion. Now a $50 million offer wrapped in claims of exceptional reasons and the argument that the Mann Act counts are non-violent. The judge has said no each time, citing danger to any person, prior admissions of violence toward partners, including Cassie Ventura, and the reality that detention pending sentencing is the rule in federal court, not the exception. Prosecutors have tightened the screws in their latest brief. The crimes reflect aggravating, not mitigating conduct, and the motion is late under Rule 49's 14-day window. There is a legal tempo that headlines miss. After a felony verdict, the bar for release climbs steeply. Exceptional circumstances actually means exceptional. Being rich is not exceptional. Owning a mansion is not exceptional. Offering a private security team you personally fund is not exceptional. Courts do not outsource public safety to a defendant's payroll. What matters is whether anything fundamental has changed. Here, the government says nothing has. The facts are the same, the danger analysis is the same, and the calendar is short. So the optics war takes over. The defense wants the judge to see a shrinking risk profile, program enrollment, therapy sessions, clean incident logs, character letters, and a detailed supervision plan for house arrest. The prosecution wants the court to see a widening pattern: booked flights, booked rooms, supplied drugs, controlled partners, and events repeated over years. One side says the Mann Act was misapplied to a watcher. The other says a watcher who designs the stage is a producer, and producers are responsible for the show. One side says nonviolent. The other says coercion and control are violence by another name. Outside the filings, the speculation market homes. Some observers think Combs is being squeezed by enemies with longer reach than prosecutors: corporate rivals, spurned partners, elites who want distance and silence. Others see the opposite, a justice system finally refusing to bend for a celebrity defendant. The colder answer may be institutional. When the file is heavy, the witness list is anxious, and the guarantees are brittle, federal courts default to restraint. Keep him in, set the date, read the report, and sentence. That date is October 3rd. Between now and then, the pre-sentence report will land, the binder that tells the judge what the guidelines suggest and what the victims say. Early talk of 4 to 5 years has already been replaced by a substantially higher expectation in later government papers. The range on the paper matters, the story in the room matters more. In the end, the court decides on October 3rd.